The Missing Witches podcast follows the wheel of the year, with true histories of real witches in the autumn and meditations on kinship with the more than human world in the spring.
Stay with us in the off season for the Missing Witches prescription, plus interviews and Sabbath specials all year round.
Join us as we change with the seasons, but always return to our roots.
And if you want to support the Missing Witches Project, join the coven. Find out all about it at missingwitches.com.
Spirit is rising, she's rising, she's rising. The spirit is rising, it's rising, it's rising. The spirit is rising, they're rising, they're rising.
Hi, Coven. Hi, Risa.
Hi, Amesy. Hi, Coven. How the fuck are you?
It's spring, and spring is springing, which is just so hopeful and such a wonderful reminder that, what is dormant can come alive again. And it's amazing to me that I can look outside and there's nothing. And then literally like 2 days later, the stuff is just shooting out of the ground like fireworks. It's amazing how quickly things can change. And again, it makes me hopeful that things can change quickly.
Yeah, I feel the reminder of joy everywhere in the spring, It's such a relief. Like our joy is very powerful. Our joy is more powerful even than our rage and our sorrow, I think. Although those things are crucial and deeply powerful and part of the wheel of feeling and the wheel of the year. But joy, man, I need a little bit of it. I love to see the students at the encampment. I loved to see the joy in Montreal this week when McGill tried to bring an injunction against the encampment, the kids, and have the police clear it out. And the police, for the second time, were like, no, like they're not
Yeah,
doing anything illegal. So,
the courts
no.
were like, they're allowed to do this. Hey, guess what? We're the
Guess,
courts.
guess what? Peaceful protest is legal. And I had a funny conversation with my stepdad about it. He's a professor at McGill and was very moved by peace movements in the past. And now he's in this sort of authority position. He's trying to understand it. The things that he's hearing about what the kids are doing is so different from what I hear from the perspective of people who are inside the encampment, who are organizing arts events or whatever. And I'm just, following on Instagram because I live far away. But my had an interesting conversation with him about it. And it was really the most moving part was for us to both remember that like there is this brutal urgency to it. And so to ask the kids, the protesters, the brave students who are out there living out there trying to write their final exams to, to adjust elements of their demands to be less demanding. He even said, like, if we cut all academic ties with Israel, then aren't we cutting ties with the most left wing often, like the people who have been arguing against Netanyahu for so long? And I was like, yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't know why they would ask that. And he said, oh, well, it puts pressure. Like it puts an urgent pressure. If we start to sever links, it puts more and more pressure internally. And I was like, well, then it makes a lot of sense to me to do it. Like this pressure of bursting through, the urgency. It's like it's right now. I understand that like bureaucracy has to move the way bureaucracy has to move and courts have to move and all those systems like they take time, but people are dying right now. So I absolutely understand pushing everywhere you possibly can, pushing with that urgency to say that this has to be resolved. There has to be a way for people to be at peace. Like anyway, I know I'm still talking about that. It's still happening. It's still deeply in my mind and in my heart. And I see it when I look at my yellow forsythia flowers in bloom. The joy is always going to be tinged with sorrow while the world is still at war. And we're always going to be conjuring for joy, for peace, for the whole fucking world. I insist upon my utopian imaginings and And so that's part of my prescription today. My
I
family, go ahead.
I just want to shout out World Central Kitchen. You know, they were made big news because the IDF killed 7 of their team members. Um, but despite that, they have opened a third field kitchen in Gaza. Like they just won't stop helping. And just as an aside, if you're looking to make a contribution to the Missing Witches Reparations fundraiser, I made a donation to World Central Kitchen like a couple months ago, and I really I recommend that. You know, you can enter our fundraiser by donating to World Central Kitchen, who again, like the IDF killed 7 of their members, and their response to that was not to shut down, but rather to open a third field kitchen in Gaza. So shout out World Central Kitchen. Risa, you were saying.
I was just gonna say my prescription for this week is rooted in joy. And it's rooted in Indigenous joy. My family loves the original Tribe Called Red album. May requested in the car. Um, it's so intense. The rhythms are so intense. The chanting is so intense. It's like we're having a fucking dubstep party in the car on the way to school in the morning, on the way to pre-K. Um, they've renamed to the hallucination. And the video I want to bring, the song I want to bring is called Sisters. And
Oh, I'm so happy. I love that song. But I do have to say that they changed their name to Hallucination based on the work of John Trudell,
oh,
the poet and musician that I brought a couple weeks
yes,
ago. So it's all connected, which is we are all connected.
we are all connected.
And I
Oh
love
my
the song
gosh.
Sisters. I'm so excited you brought that song.
It's so joyful. And watch this video and feel these women's joy and power. And let's lean in if you're making a reparation donation to a Native Women Support Org in defiance of the epidemic, the genocide of missing and murdered Indigenous women in North America. These unsolved and constantly building and terrorizing murders and kidnappings and loss in this community. As an antidote to that, make a donation reparation and then dance with these joyful, fucking powerful women and remember their joy and power too. And let's all embody that joy as a revolutionary act, I think.
Yes, I brought um Elisapi, who is originally from Nunavik, which is like way far north Quebec, like you can only get there by airplane, but she lives in Tiohtià:ke, aka Montreal now. And she sort of rose to prominence when she put out this album of cover songs like Heart of Glass by Blondie and Unforgiven by Metallica, but translates them into Inuktitut.
Yeah, Heart of
And
Glass was one of the first prescriptions.
oh, really?
Yeah, I brought Elizabeth to one of the very first
Like
prescriptions because
so long ago.
Ivy's dad is in that band.
Oh,
May's
cute.
little bestie Ivy, her dad's in the band, so is often touring with Elizabeth. We love them. We love this album so much. I'm so happy you're
Yes.
bringing another song by her.
Well, I brought one of her original songs because, like, while the covers are super cool and wonderful, this is the one that struck me. It's a song called Darkness Bring the Light.
Darkness bring the light, darkness bring the light, darkness bring my light. Darkness bring the light, darkness bring the light, darkness bring my light.
And a lot of the lyrics are just this repetition of darkness bring the light, darkness bring the light, darkness bring the light. And I hope you'll listen to the song. It's become sort of like a mantra for me when I'm feeling low. I'm like, darkness, bring the light, darkness, bring the light. And it's it's been useful for me as like a call out to the universe. I know, Risa, you had quite an encounter with a light in the darkness, and I want you to tell us more about it right now before we say Blessed Monkey Me.
Okay. Darkest Bring the Light. I have to tell my Borealis story. Just briefly, I'm still processing this experience, but I just want to share with you if you didn't see it or you saw glimpses of it. I wish I could just share the entire experience with you, but we'd gotten the kids to bed. It was me and two friends who were up with their little kid. They finally got to sleep at like 10. We went outside. We were just finally relaxing. And then the first thing we saw was this sort of beam of green, and we are kind of shooting across the sky, not moving quickly, shooting is the wrong word, but, and we were like, it would kind of look like that if it was going to be visible here. That would be what we would see. That's what we've seen once or twice before, a couple of just bands of glowing green. But then it was like it got turned up and more complex and more beautiful and louder for hours and hours and hours. There was these shapes in the sky that were moving like a slow motion, stop motion animation. And they were spread out across the entire sky. And it had these long feathered shapes at the bottom and a curve in the middle and a beak. And it was the three of us, it was so clear we were watching this bird in flight. It was moving its head, it was moving its wings up and down, but it was this beautiful, massive, I don't know what a thunderbird looks like, but I imagine it looks like that. It was so, so beautiful. And the way that the light moved in it was unlike anything I've ever seen except in digital art. There was sort of these prismatic rainbow colors that sort of shimmered through like they were passing over it really quickly. And then there were these moments where whole shapes would light up and glow like they'd been hit with lightning, but the lightning was sort of slow motion. So it was like pieces of the sky in these different shapes getting lit up. And to think that that was happening because of a storm on our sun, that we circle this glorious, massive ball of flame that May Marigold has informed me is where heaven is, and everyone who lives in heaven is made of light. And it's a big crank door. You gotta crank it to get in.
Oh, the crank door is new. The
That was a
beams
new
of
detail.
light. Yes, yeah. Bless her. I love the
Yeah.
crank.
She stands up on her chair when she tells us about it. It's really fiery. Um, yeah, it was in that darkness, and we just couldn't leave. We lay out for hours and hours watching it. Every time we went to leave, something more spectacular would happen. And we really felt in that moment, one, that like we understood centuries, millennia of cultures feeling that the sky was a place of deity or of magic or of spirit. That's kind of undeniable when we were watching it. And that there was a message there about our kinship felt really undeniable. And the other piece that was really emotional for us when we spoke about it the next day was that it made the bubble of the atmosphere visible because the images curve around the sky. And so it also made us feel incredibly vulnerable and fragile, that there's this massive storm happening, and it's so big, it's like 12 times our planet, the field where the storm is, and this teeny little bubble of just the right gases is sort of protecting us, and Jupiter, this massive gas bubble, is protecting us from asteroids. It's gathering them up in its gravitational pull. Like, we are being loved and protected by these forces we think of as inanimate, and maybe they are, but they're protecting us nevertheless.
Thank you, Jupiter.
Right?
I also I want to do a quick update. Like as of this moment when Risa and I are recording this, we are at the exact halfway point of May, which means we're halfway through our fundraiser. And We are like less than $3,000 away from besting what we did last year. So I really want to call out, if everybody who's listening to this podcast can scrounge around in their couch cushions, check last year's winter coats to see if there's a $10 bill in there, then we will really, really, really blast past what we did last year. So you don't have to go broke. But again, if you can scrounge up $10 worth of coins from your couch cushions or the tray in your car or return some bottles, like we we do this fundraiser $10 at a time, and we do have some donors. Shout out Bree, our biggest donor every year. But $10 at a time is how we make like baby steps. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with just one step and all that. And I really will tell you that like you could buy a couple lattes, but I can guarantee that you're going to feel better about spending that $10 supporting your local Indigenous support organization, or like I said before, World Central Kitchen. Again, like how inspiring to know that they dealt with the murders of their staff and the murders of the Palestinian people by opening another field kitchen. Like that to me is so there's not even a proper word. Like inspiring doesn't cut it, you know? So once again, I guarantee like if you spend $10 on donating to a humanitarian organization, you're going to get more of a boost than you do from caffeine. That is for sure. And so again, like we're halfway through as of this recording, and you've still got 2 weeks left to make a donation of $10 or more to your local Indigenous support organization. And a reminder too, like there are thousands of dollars worth of prizes that you can win. And as soon as you make a donation, you'll get a discount code from House Witch. So everyone's a winner. And especially like when we work together to just insist on hope, to just insist upon hoping. If you think of it as a ritual sacrifice, if you think of it as, buying yourself some flowers, but like emotional flowers, soul flowers, we've been talking a lot about actual flowers that grow out of the ground and have petals and all that, but just like the notion of flowers as a way that humans articulate joy and pain and hope. Yeah, scrounge around in your couch cushions, take a look in the little tray of your car, go and look in your winter coat from last year and see if you left a couple bucks in there. See if you can scrounge up $10 and donate it to your local or to the Native Women's Shelter of Montreal, of course.
Yeah, I just want
So
to add my favorite stories from this are people write into us to tell us, I didn't know if there was any Native run operated nonprofit in my community at all. And I had like never looked, like it just never came up for me. I never Googled that. And so I did. And then it turns out like the place around the corner from where I work, where I'd always thought the mural was really beautiful, is a Native women's support organization. And now I donated my money to it. And now I've signed up to attend this event. And it's like people suddenly feel like, oh, there's this. I want you to find these networks of hope. Like I want you to find these pockets because it can feel so dark, but like people have been working together for a really long time to solve these problems. And just because they aren't solved yet and they're still heartbreaking doesn't mean that work isn't deeply rooted. And you can find it and you can put $10 at it and also just like feel your life move towards these, I don't know, these sort of magnetic wells of insisting upon joy. I want that for all of us.
darkness, bring the light.
I mean, and blessed fucking me.
And blessed fucking be. We love you.
Me, and my life is all to me.
The Missing Witches podcast follows the wheel of the year, with true histories of real witches in the autumn and meditations on kinship with the more than human world in the spring.
Stay with us in the off season for the Missing Witches prescription, plus interviews and Sabbath specials all year round.
Join us as we change with the seasons, but always return to our roots.
And if you want to support the Missing Witches Project, join the coven. Find out all about it at missingwitches.com.